Hello, traders. Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com, Sunday, November 30th, 2025. In this edition of your weekend video newsletter, we'll discuss the rebound and bullish action. All sectors were bullish to certain degrees and rising into the close on Friday, leaving us with 16 bullish indicators, 3 neutral, and 1 bearish. Captain Condor was active on Friday. As such, with the upper strikes at 68.40 being tested, he'll be doubling down on Monday. With the S&P Equal Weight Index driving most of the action, look for a follow-through as the number of stocks above the 20-day and the number of stocks above the 50-day are both rising, but starting to impart a overbought condition in the short term. Watch for potential flag to start the week. All depends on Sunday futures into Monday morning. With 9 of 10 New York FANG components rising, we did break out of this descending channel. The only laggard was NVIDIA, losing about 1% on the week. The S&P 500 responded by bouncing along with most sectors, finishing at the highs of the week. In addition to the New York FANG, we also had many tech stocks moving higher, with the Qs rising, the tech sector back to the 50-day moving average, semiconductors back above the 50-day moving average as volume faded into Thursday and Friday. So we'll be looking for some consolidation to start the week. Small caps also rallied very strongly last week with 8 of 9 sectors bullish and above their 10 EMA weekly. That's bullish for the week ahead. With advanced decline percent for the S&P 500, mid caps and NASDAQ all rising, the strength in IWM was only negative in the sense that the advanced decline percent did hook down a little bit to end the week. Overall, though, this is very bullish going into Monday trading. Junk bonds are reflective of a risk-on environment as this continues to rise along with small caps and biotechs. These three are strong risk-on indicators reflecting a bullish environment to start the week. In addition, the 10-year yield is near lows. We are watching what could be an inverted head and shoulders. Any strength in the 10-year yield would be reflected as a headwind for small caps, so keep an eye on the 10-year yield as well. While Brent crude continues to move in a descending pattern, along with spot gasoline at lows that we haven't seen since 2021. This is good for the consumer going into the holidays. Gold and silver are also showing strength. This is most likely due to investors anticipating a rise in inflation if the Fed does in fact cut rates at the next meeting. So keep an eye on gold and silver. At the same time, the US dollar continues its march higher, producing higher highs and higher lows, attempting to get above the 100 level and trend into year end. If gold does continue to move higher, watch for the US dollar to come back and retest the 50-day moving average. As previously mentioned, all sectors were bullish, moving back above their 20 and 50-day moving average, led by biotechs, energy, financials, industrials, materials, and consumer staples. With the consumer discretionary versus consumer staples ratio bullish, we'll look for these ribbons to turn up as we look for this to continue moving higher. Small cap sectors, only consumer staples was below a descending 10 EMA. Everything else was above the 10 EMA, consumer discretionary, small cap energy, small cap financials, small cap healthcare, extending its lead, small cap industrials, small cap materials, small cap information technology, and small cap utilities. With all of these moving higher with the exception of consumer staples, I would think that we would see a lift going into December trading. The list of IBD 50 stocks, gold, and Bitcoin, as well as some stocks from scans with very high scooter scores. I would think that the markets are going to be fairly bullish this week. We may start out with a little bit of consolidation, but we are looking for a lot of these stocks to continue higher. We have 9 of 10 New York FANG components rising. The New York FANG index itself rose more than 5% last week, as we previously mentioned, with S&P support at 6,800 and resistance overhead at 6,840, 6,850, and 6,900. The call wall is at 6,850. Most of the gold miners were rising last week in addition to precious metals. We did have Google flagging at 320. It has some significant resistance here in this area between 320 and 340. Amphenol moving back above its 20-day moving average, bouncing off the 50-day with a MACD cross, with most of the IBD 50 stocks rising along a bullish 20 and 50-day moving averages. Celestica, CLS, continues its bullish trend. Comfort Systems, FIX, was written up in Investors Business Daily this weekend regarding its influence in the AI space, especially data centers that need cooling and air conditioning. The company reporting 6 straight years of positive cash flow and increasing dividends. Credo also had a nice bounce last week on volume. MACD crossed, following through. Look for Credo or potentially flag and continue into year end. Eli Lilly looks like it's going to start to consolidate a few days, so we'll keep an eye on that. Might be a nice entry near the 20-day moving average, around $1,000. With Fabrinet moving back above its 20-day moving average, bouncing just below the 50-day moving average, MACD crossing. With Lemonade bouncing off its 20-day moving average as well. Insmed from previous watch list continues along a bullish trend. Micron also higher. Natera and Nextracker all following through. Watch the pharmaceuticals too. Miriam Pharmaceuticals back above its 20 and 50-day moving average, looking for a continuation. Along with Rigel Pharma rising for the past 3 weeks. 20 50-day crossed 2 weeks ago. The stock continues to move higher. Reddit and SoFi, my favorites for the week ahead. Looking for a follow-through with Reddit consolidating just above the 50-day moving average. Looking for a bounce if it doesn't take off first thing in the morning on Monday. Look for this to continue this week. Same thing with SoFi, consolidating right above the 20 and 50-day moving averages. Along with many semiconductors like Taiwan Semi, looking for a follow-through this week. Overall, the IBD 50 looked very strong, with most of these set to continue this week. Okay, traders, that's going to do it for me. This is Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com, Sunday, November 30th, 2025. Keep an eye on these stocks down below, as many of them will most likely follow through this week. Of particular interest are the builders. Those showed a lot of strength, with many moving back above the 50-day moving average, signaling a potential bullish trend for swing traders into year end. I'll send out a watch list later tonight around 12 midnight on the East Coast, around 9 o'clock on the West Coast, so be sure to check your inbox for that. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Take care, and we'll see you in the morning. Ciao.